Guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Guess what today is? It is hump day. It is time for Wednesday afternoon business therapy coming to you live right here from the Orange Nomad studios in sunny, warm Columbus, Ohio. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you are catching this on the replay, welcome to the show. So let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from. Please say hi in the comments. We'd like to see where everybody's tuning in from and to welcome everybody. If this is your first time catching the show, put that in the comments too. I'm always curious to see who is tuning in to us for the first time. Those of you who are returning guests and repeat viewers to the show, welcome back. Welcome everybody, one and all. This is the Do What Is Necessary live stream. So if this is your first time watching the show, and again, if you're watching this on the replay, I am Andrew Moon. I'm Orange Nomad, and I help take hustling entrepreneurs and turn them into calm, unstoppable CEOs. And that's what this show is dedicated to 100% doing, is helping you become the best version of you and doing what is absolutely necessary. Not according to me, not according to all the gurus out there. This is pushing aside all the hustle and grind, 10x this, 10x that, and all of the other garbage that's out there, and doing what is absolutely necessary for you to have a calm, effective, productive life. That's what I'm dedicated to doing. We've been doing this show for about a year now, a little over a year. We started this on April 1st of last year. It is an absolute labor of love to share everything that I've learned in being an entrepreneur since I was 8 years old. And that's what I'm all about, is sharing the good, bad, and the ugly, so that you don't have to make those same mistakes, so that you can live a productive, calm life. So let's welcome a few people to the show today. We've got Mr. T. Robin Cole tuning in from Missouri. So he is in the Midwest. I'm in the Midwest with you, Robin. It is a nice, warm day. We had a little bit of a cool-off at the beginning of the week. Now we are back to summer. So we've got that roller coaster ride going on with the weather here. Amit Burke tuning in from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. So welcome to the show. Glad to have both you and Robin. If you're just tuning into the show, you're just catching us, or if you're watching this on the broadcast, like I said, put in the comments where you're tuning in from, because I watch these comments even after the broadcasts have aired to make sure that I reply to get all of your questions answered and to give everything, like I said, all about giving back to the entrepreneurial community that I love so much. All right, so this week's episode is all about how we fire ourselves. And what am I talking about? So I'll just give you a quick behind-the-scenes tour real quick before we get in. A lot of people ask me about my setup. They want to see the setup. I always like to do that a couple minutes before we jump into our main topic, which today is firing ourselves and being able to grow our business when we fire ourselves. So this is a very simple setup if you want to see what's actually on my desk. Very simple, minimalist setup, and super effective for being able to produce a weekly live stream like this. So let's get into our topic today. Again, I'm excited to have you here, and let's flip over screen so you can actually see me. So a lot of people are curious about what this actually means and how it can benefit them. And we deal with a lot with coaching and mentoring and teaching. Especially since I got out of the IT business back in 2014. I do a lot of coaching with IT providers, particularly managed service providers. And this, I think, is a critical skill that we need to learn as entrepreneurs when it's actually time to fire ourselves, because we may likely be the problem. We may likely be the thing that is holding up our growth inside of our company. So I want to do an audience poll. So if you're tuning in, you're just tuning into the broadcast, again, put in the comments, let me know where you're tuning in from. But I have a question for everybody. And please put in the comments. Yes, I have been fired from a job before. So put in the comments if you've ever been fired from a job. Don't be shy now, where this is all about caring and sharing. Because I know for a fact I'm not the only one. My last quote-unquote job went out with a blaze of glory. Not my finer moments. I won't get into the gory details of that, but yes, I have been fired from a regular job. I make a terrible employee, and I found that out a long time ago, so that's why I continue to be an entrepreneur and to work for myself. But in any case, again, takes a little bit time for the comments to come in, but let's talk about how to fire the CEO in particular. And when you're the CEO, that's when things get really tricky. And this becomes even more difficult if we know in the back of our hardest of hearts, we know that as a founder, that we are the top technician, we are the chief cook and bottle washer inside of our company, and nobody inside of our company has really put in the time, the blood, the sweat, and the tears to establishing something from the ground up. And we get tied to our businesses as founders, and frequently when founders and entrepreneurs and business owners come to us, they're at a fork in the road. They really don't know where to go. And that's a dilemma that I've had in the past as an entrepreneur. You come to a fork in the road to whether you continue to grow or maybe you exit and do something different. You might be at that fork in the road right now. And if you are, again, if you want to put that in the comments, great. But if you don't want to share that publicly, that's fine too. So, a couple people have been fired from jobs. So Amit says, yes, he's been fired from a job. So I knew I wasn't the only one. But yes, Dan Rockwell, yeah, so he's probably been fired for a job. And if you're an entrepreneur for any length of time, we've probably been fired for multiple jobs. But going back to our topic, if you're at that crossroads inside of your business and trying to figure out what to do, there are 3 signs that I typically see in an entrepreneur, and I see it because I've been there. I've reached those points, those critical points in running a business. I've reached critical points in different businesses that I've had, and these 3 things seem to rise to the top as being surefire signs that you probably need to fire yourself. And if you've become overworked, you're tired, you're frustrated, you're just not having fun anymore, that soon turns into anger. And most entrepreneurs that we talk to that are at that point are a complete bag of stress. They are completely stressed out, they're overworked, they don't know what's up from down, and that's difficult because they don't know what to do next. So if that's where you're at, it may be a sign that it might be time to fire yourself, either from your company or fire yourself out of certain roles. And we're going to talk all about that right today on how to do that, the 4-step process and how to fire yourself from inside of your business. But if you're at that point where you're tired, you're frustrated, you're overworked, you're angry, you're just not having fun, it's tough to see that in the mirror. But when you see that, it's a sign. It's a sign that something needs to change. The other thing that we see is you may be growing revenue, but your profits go down. Or worse, your profits are down, your revenue is down. And it's a frustration, it's a pain point, so you're not sure where to go next. The next sign that I typically see too, if you have employees and if you might be a small to mid-sized company with employees, you may be at a point where your employees are actually demanding structure from you. We can no longer wing it as a startup. We can no longer fly by the seat of our pants as entrepreneurs. Our employees are requiring us to have structure. And a lot of entrepreneurs don't know how to go back and fix that, where it is a complete daunting task to them, so they get stuck. We get frustrated, then we start to get angry. So that might be a point where you might be at that point inside of your company where you may be the stumbling block to putting in those systems and process inside of your company. But those 3 things, you may be experiencing one or all of them, but those are the ones that I typically see as being most pressing. When entrepreneurs finally reach us and we have our first call together, that's where we typically see entrepreneurs. So in order to go from that haggard, angry, stressed, overworked to a calm, unstoppable CEO, we have to stop wearing all the hats. If we're going to grow personally, if we're going to grow professionally, we have to fire ourselves. And let's talk about, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by firing ourselves? Firing yourself is, it brings calm, it brings peace, and that's why we got into business as entrepreneurs, isn't it? We want that calm, we expect things to go smoothly, but they don't. And it's because we are too dependent, our business rather, is too dependent on us. And that is the first thing about breaking free from your business. If your business defines your identity, if your business defines your self-worth, you're too dependent on your business, and your business is too dependent on you. So we need to make the business you independent. And if you're at that point, if you feel like you are just stuck in everything depends on you, please put that in the comments. I know that a lot of folks struggle with that. So it looks like a couple people are tuning in about the stream. So let me just bump over here before we get going. So if you can still hear me okay and everything's coming through loud and clear for you, please put that in the comments. But it looks like we've got a couple of people said they can't play back. So Dan, I apologize if you're having any technical issues. But yes, if you can hear me and the stream is still coming in loud and clear, please drop that in the comments before we continue on, because I surely don't want folks to miss out on some stuff. All right, so looks like we've got Kyle Ridgway just joining us. He's late to the party, so obviously things are working. So welcome, Kyle, to the show. Again, I'm going to go back over to LinkedIn and do a refresh here and see what's going on before we get into the rest of the show here. Yes, so if you're still watching, you can hear me, put that in the comments. It looks like I'm still getting comments, so it looks like we're still live, waiting for LinkedIn page to refresh here. So I apologize if you're having any technical difficulties. That is the beauty and the Achilles heel of live streaming, especially when you're live streaming to third parties. So I'm just waiting for that stream to pop back up. Again, if you can hear me, drop that in the comments. Everything is coming through loud and clear. All right, so it looks like okay. All right, so it looks like we've got a few coming in. He's got Josh Weiss joining us from California. Awesome. He's got 4 employees, outsourced help desk, knock, sock. Can't manage to get it myself out of the way. So obviously, yes, we're still coming in loud and clear. So Dan, I apologize. Looks like you're having problems with the feed. I believe you're up all the way up in Alaska. So welcome back to the show for one. So, and Josh says, yep, I struggle to make a coherent system. And we're going to talk all about that today. So, yeah, and it looks like, again, I'm just checking this just to make sure. All right, so I'm seeing it live, but again, obviously comments are coming in, so we are still live, so let's step on the gas and get going here. So I apologize if folks are having a little bit of technical difficulties. But back to our topic. How do we make the business independent of you? And Josh, you touched on that with your comment. The theory behind pulling yourself out of the business and making it you independent is that difference between working in the business and working on the business. And I know that was something I heard over and over and over again running my last IT business. You have to work on the business. You have to work on the business. And when you're working on the business, you're doing the project work. You are doing everything. You might be, scrubbing the floors. But if you're working on the business, it is this right here. Working on the business, you're focusing on designing the machine that is your business and creating the systems, finding the right people, and setting up processes for other people to be able to implement, for other people to be able to execute that system. Now, for example, let's say you're running an IT business, and a lot of you folks that are tuning in, I know you probably are, and I've been there. If you're working in the business, you're pitching potential clients, you're onboarding them, you're running your help desk, you're sending reports, you're answering the phone, you're answering emails. But if we reframe this and we look at designing the machine, you'd be doing things a little bit differently. You'd actually be documenting each part of that process. Each part of the process for answering the phone, each part of the process for quoting people, each part of the process for running your help desk, and then determining who do I need to hire, what people do I need to put into these positions to be able to fill the roles and actually execute the system, the machine. And Josh touched on it too. He said he has 1,000 SOPs. Standard operating procedures. We did an entire show last week about that. So if you're watching this after the fact, or if you want to go catch that episode, please do so. But I did a long how to create and automate SOPs. But if you're familiar with the binders, we talked about that last week. Those are basically those systems and process for being able to do all of the different things inside of our business. And those are the standard operating procedures that allow you to pull yourself out of the business and allow the business to not be so dependent on what's inside your head. And if we're rocking around with all of that information, we're stopping our company from growing. We're stopping a lot of things inside of our company from happening. So how do we do that? How do we go? When should you start working on the business? And this was one of the things I struggled with as an IT provider. The tough time that folks have from transitioning from in the business to on the business is tough, especially when you're starting out. If you're new in business, you got to make payroll. You've got to bring income. You've got to keep the lights on. You've got to make sure that you've got enough money to cover your living expenses, and it's tough. So we kind of skip that process in the beginning. But the sooner you go back, the sooner you start that process of working on the business, you'll be much further ahead when the time comes to actually hire people to implement. Because when you hire people to implement, a totally different set of circumstances happen. The thing that I see is people start in 2-week cycles. Your 2-week cycles where you ramp up, and it's just to make payroll in 2 weeks. So that's where, as soon as you can, create those processes and start working inside of your business. Working on your business for building those systems and process. And we're going to talk a lot about how to do that, because it doesn't get easier as you grow. And you've found that if you've been in business any length of time, put it in the comments. I'm just curious how long you've been in business right now, if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner. Drop that in the comments, how long you've been in business. Because if you've been in business for any length of time, it's difficult. The business gets more complex. There's more layers. There's more things to do. The sooner you, or the bigger that you get. But the sooner that you start that process of making those processes and systems, the better. And a lot of entrepreneurs, hit that wall where they just look at the monumental task of doing that, and that they go into panic mode, and it stops them from progressing. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start that process somewhere. So take 1 or 2 processes and just get started. And this is one of the things we teach our clients to do in our coaching sessions, is to block off regular time to work on your business. And with this business that I'm running now, we started early. And that was one of the things I prioritized early, was creating those processes. Because the more time we block off to doing those things, that long-term impact and the ROI is just immense. So make sure that you block off time. And this is one of the things we share with our coaching clients. If you want a copy of this, please put that in the comments too. But this is my calendar batching for the week. This is how I batch the different tasks that I have to do during the course of the week. And one of the things that I do on Thursdays from in the morning is I work on those systems and processes inside of my business. especially when it comes to operations. But I have a block of time on my calendar every single week to work on those things. And don't try to tackle everything at once. Take one or two processes and just get started, because it has a compound effect. One process builds on another. It gets easier the faster you get that snowball rolling. And the truth is, you to be honest, you may not see immediate results in week 1. You may not see immediate results in week 2. You may not even see results a year in. But you will make progress. A lot of times you'll go from the short-term fighting to survive to actually having ROI. And it may not be immediate, but get started, and it does have a compound effect. It was Albert Einstein said compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. This works the same way inside of your business. Building those systems and processes for other people to do the work has a compound effect on you as an entrepreneur. So Josh said he's been in business for 10 years, 10 plus years. So he's been over 10 years. So congratulations to you. And again, a lot of MSPs, a lot of IT providers don't even make it that long. So kudos to you, my friend. All right, so let's do a quick question, and then let's get into how do we actually do that? How do we go about firing ourselves? And I want to ask a poll of the audience. Again, this will help me determine whether or not things are still working. How much time do you spend every single day or every single week, perhaps, working on your business? Please put that in the comments and let me know that. And we'll see if we get any takers on that. So how do we fire ourselves? How do we fire ourselves from our business? Recently, a video came up, and that's really what triggered this episode of being able to fire yourself. It was Bill Gates and Warren Buffett. We're talking about time management, about the ability to transition and not be so your business being so highly dependent on you. So I just want to play this short video. And again, if you put in your comments, how often you work on your business too. But I wanted you to see this video. You may have already seen it, and this will help us see what the end goal is.
I also remember Warren showing me his calendar, and
I love this.
I had every minute packed, and I thought that was the only way you could do things. And the fact that he is so careful about his time.
Can I show this to the audience? Yeah.
He has days
that there's nothing on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to show.
Some of the best.
And
Well, this is October.
it's very high tech. Be careful.
No,
you might
here,
not understand.
I'm going to hold. I'm not going to show the thing. But this is the week of April, of which there are only 3 entries for a week.
Yeah, there'll be 4 maybe by April.
File tax.
So that taught you what? Not to crowd yourself too much and give yourself time to read and think and...
Right, that you control your time, and that sitting and thinking may be a much higher priority than a normal CEO who, there's all this demand and you feel like you need to go and see all these people. It's not a proxy of your seriousness that you filled every minute in your schedule.
And people are going to want your time.
Yeah,
and it's the only thing you can't buy. I mean, I can buy anything I want, basically, but I can't buy time.
And so to have time is the most precious thing you can have.
I better be careful with it. Yeah. There's no way I will be able to buy more time.
So for me, that was a powerful video on our ability to make that choice, to actually do what is necessary for our business. And you may know, like I said, if you're tuning in to this show and watching live, you may be to that point, but you just feel like you cannot get control. So let's talk about how we get that control, because having that control over our time, having control over our business as much as humanly possible, that's what leads to calm. And there are 4 basic ways to fire yourself from your business. So let's talk about those. The very first one, make a list of every single thing that you absolutely hate doing. Things that you know you're not good at, things that you dislike doing, things that you're bored with, things that you know you're not very good at, and that you just wish would go away. And those are the things that we often procrastinate about. Those are the things that don't eventually ever get done. And that worsens your mood, and you go into a spiral. Now, that list it could be 2 or 3 things, or it could be 30 things. But take my word for it, you'll have no problem coming up with things that we know we do not like to do. So if you know what one of those things is, put that in the comments. And again, if you're watching this on the replay, put that in the comments as well. But this is where we start. We make a list of all the things that we don't like doing and the things that are sapping our mental and our physical energy out of us. And we figure out how we either eliminate or delegate those things. We fire ourselves from doing things inside of our business that we absolutely hate. And yes, there are some things that we absolutely have to do as entrepreneurs that really nobody else can do. But the majority of those things can be delegated, eliminated, or automated. But it's taking the time and having that list in front of you and knowing where to start. That is step number 1. We have to identify those things that we should not be doing and the things that we should be firing ourselves from inside of our company. Number 2 is we actually have to take action. We have to free up ourselves. Otherwise, we're going to be stuck in that no growth cycle. We're going to be stuck in that mentality of frustration. So once you have the list, you may not be able to delegate, eliminate, or automate everything on that list. But start with 1 or 2 things. And it's hard to do because we feel like, oh, I'm going to be the only one that it knows how to do this. And I'm going to, it's more time consuming for me to teach somebody else how to do this. It's not. If you teach somebody else how to do that and you create the system and process for them to duplicate it, then it becomes much easier. We break that habit that we have and that ego trip that we have of thinking that we're the only one that can actually do things right. So we have to free ourselves and start that process of doing what is necessary. And what is necessary is there are a lot of things that we're probably doing inside of our business that we need to fire ourselves from. But again, if you have one of those things that you would like to share with everybody, please put that in the comments. And while you're doing that, we wanted to also give away a prize. This is one of the things we do. If you're watching live on the show, this is why we encourage live, because if you're watching on the replay, unfortunately, we've already given our prize away. So let's give away a t-shirt. Who would like a free t-shirt? Please put that in the comments. Put free t-shirt in the comments. And whoever is the first person that replies will get that free, sweet Team Orange t-shirt. So, again, put in the comments, free t-shirt. First person snags the prize. All right, let's get moving on. Let's start. Number 3. This is kind of related to step number 2. But once we've done that, we started to free ourselves. We absolutely have to embrace delegation and teamwork. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a second. So Amit is our winner chicken dinner. Amit gets himself another free Orange Nomad t-shirt. So you actually have one coming on your way as part of your coaching sessions. So let's take a runner-up. If you're I've already got one coming to Amit, so if you'd like a free t-shirt too, put that in the comments. Second person to reply. Let's do the 2 for today. Give away 2 t-shirts. But yeah, put that in the comments. Free t-shirt. Next person that does, we'll pop that up on the screen and fire away. All right, so embrace delegation and teamwork. And the delegation part is the one that is absolutely hard for entrepreneurs, because we're not used to delegating. It is very unnerving to delegate to somebody else parts of our business. And it's because we're so tied. We're so tied emotionally. We're so tied. Our self-worth is so tied to our business. But if you're going to break free, you're going to fire yourself, we need to embrace delegation and not abdication. Don't just push something on somebody without a process or a system. So many times I'll see people hire a virtual assistant or a tech inside of their business, and they have no process. They have no system for that person to follow to get up to speed. And then they're frustrated. They're frustrated because they wasted time, effort, and money on a tech or a virtual assistant, and they blame the virtual assistant or the tech. I've done it. And if I look in the mirror, the fault is completely mine. I have not set them up for success. I haven't given them a process and a system to follow. And one of the other things that I see with MSPs is they're anxious to get out and hire a salesperson because that's something inside their business that they may not like. But unfortunately, that's one of the things that we're going to have to do as entrepreneurs. Nobody's going to sell our company the way that we do. But I see so often, and again, I've done it. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars hiring a salesperson, stringing them along for 3 to 6 months. They're not successful, and I blame them. But when I look at it, I have not created a system. There's no marketing in place. There's no automation. There's no creative. There's nothing for them to be successful at doing that job. So if you're going to embrace delegation and embrace teamwork, you have to have systems. And that's where those things, creating SOPs inside of your company, is so vital. That you can't just delegate something where somebody has absolutely no idea how to actually be successful and how to accomplish the task. So let's talk about our last one. Searching out partnerships. And we're going to talk about this from two perspectives. There are two different partnerships that I think are essential for an entrepreneur to fire themselves from their business and be able to scale and to be able to grow their business. And one is a human component. The other one is a technical component. And being tech entrepreneurs, I know that our first inclination is when we have a problem, let's throw software at it. But if there's no process to precede the software purchase, we end up wasting time. We end up wasting effort. So our inclination first is software, but our inclination needs to be process. And we need to have the human component involved in it as well. Many struggling entrepreneurs don't reach out, or they're part of peer groups or accountability groups that absolutely don't work. Or they're part of programs that they spend thousands of dollars on every single month or every single year that are absolutely not serving their business at all. So the human component needs to be a coach. It needs to be somebody who's going to drive you to bigger results. Somebody who's going to help you through that process to be able to systematically fire yourself from parts of your business. So it can't be technology first. It has to be process. Figure out what those processes are. Either put a human component in place or a technical component in place. But we have to be constantly in search of those. And if you're absolutely stuck and in a place where you need help, please reach out. That's what this show is all about, is helping people get past that fork in the road of where you might be. So, those are my 4 steps of how to actually fire yourselves from parts of your business. Or if you're absolutely not interested in doing any of those things, you just have had it with your business, maybe it's time to fire yourself completely from your business and follow something that you actually love doing. But my mantra on this show is doing what is necessary. So my pro tip for you today, if you're watching the show or if you're tuning in after the fact, my pro tip is to get out of your own way and do what you love. Concentrate on what you love. Get rid of as many things as possible in your life that don't bring you calm. Because the longer we stay in that cycle, it is really hard to get out of. And firing yourself from parts of your business can go a long way in reaching your goal of being a calm business owner. But it takes time to come to that realization. But I promise you that it will work. So let's get to the point now where I always do this at the end of our show. And I ask people, what is your number one takeaway from today? What did you find most useful about today or insightful, or maybe it's a repeat of something that you already know but haven't taken action on? Please put that in the comments. And again, we've got another free t-shirt winner out there if you're tuning in live with us today. Put that in the comments. So, taking out, regular blocks of time, I can't stress that enough. If that's one of your takeaways, put that in the comments. But firing yourself can actually grow your business. And that is really the takeaway from today, is that if you're going to lead, if you're going to produce, if you're going to scale, grow as a person, as a business, we got to get out of our own way and do the things that we absolutely love to do. That's going to wrap our show for this week. I'm happy that you're still hanging out with us. So again, if you've got your takeaways, if the stream is just catching up, please put those in the comments. We'll share those before we go off the air today. But hopefully this was insightful to you to be able to have the insight into your business, maybe the insight into something that you know you need to do, but you've just struggled. So if you're at that place and you're just struggling, reach out. Join a peer group, join a group that is going to help you, or get a coach, whatever it is. But we have to take the steps that are absolutely necessary for you. And hopefully that was my goal with this episode, is to help you see and have that reality. If you'd like to support the show, head over to orangenomad.com/merch. You can pick up anything in our shop, any Team Orange swag, and that helps support us being able to bring this free content to the world every single week. And we very much appreciate it. I can't thank you enough. My boy Drake White is back tonight. He's had 2 weeks of vacation, and I've been jonesing. Wednesday evening therapy for me is music therapy. So if you want to check out Drake White, he goes live every Wednesday, has for over a year and a half now. He's been doing this ever since COVID started. But orangenomad.com/Drake White. He goes live on YouTube and Facebook at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But I can't. If you want some good music and you want some music therapy, it's good stuff. Thanks again for tuning in. We're going to wrap this episode. I appreciate you hanging out. I know we went fast. If there's anything that I can follow up with or answer questions, please feel free to reach out. But I'm appreciative that you've spent some time with me today. I can't thank you enough. This is an absolute labor of love doing this show every single week. As I end the show every single week, always be humble and kind, and always do what is necessary. I'll see you next week.